welcome at the second day of the World Port Hackathon 2017. My name is Dol van Duivenmode, a Rotterdam-based journalist, and I'm here in the beautiful Vanille factory with Ronald Teijken, my guest from IBM. Welcome, Ronald.
Good morning. Good morning.
And what I just learned is that you are the initiator that IBM is here present.
Correct, yes. A couple of months ago we were in a meeting with the people from Capgemini looking at what we could do together. And one of the topics we really wanted to do more with is the Rotterdam Harbour. And then, well, we heard about this hackathon and that's something we like to do as well. So from that we actually are now here as one of the partners, absolutely.
And what is your experience of the hackathon? What do you think about it?
I think it's great if you look if you walk in the building, the environment, everybody working, looking at their laptops, and it's really a very creative experience here. Nice to see.
Yeah, it is nice to see. I'm very curious if you see everybody working and all those laptops, you think, what are your plans and what are your ideas? So I am very curious. What do you hope for?
Well, it's interesting. We were in the beginning with the people from the port and others looking at the different challenges. So there's 5 challenges where they have to work with, and of course we hope that they come up with something really new, innovative. Hopefully, because we are one of the partners, they use some of our tools, of course, as well. That's why we started in here. But I think the main thing is if you look at it's mainly young people looking at new, bright ideas. Which we often don't think about, and that's the nice thing mostly out of the hackathons.
And what kind of tools from IBM could they use?
We're basically using here our developers platform, which is called Bluemix, and within that you can basically use whatever kind of technology you want. So it's really a developer environment. They can work with Internet of Things capabilities. They can work with analytics capabilities. Blockchain specifically very interesting as well for the harbor, so to make sure that all the parties are really using the same kind of information, and we get a lot of demand from the harbor, etc. So basically we've provided a platform which they can use for whatever they want to do.
And the Internet of Things is it's not very new. It has been here for a few years, but still it feels and it sounds like this new era which is coming. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Internet of Things is really not new. Normally when I do a presentation I start with, I was working 20 years ago with a company, we were acquired, and then somebody said, wouldn't it be great if your fridge at home would have a sensor in it? That's about 20 years ago, and that's what we now call IoT. The real reason why it came up a couple of years ago is that sensors are very cheap, we have cloud technology, we can do the analytics, and we basically have provided an environment where it's easier to do. But what you really see is that there's a lot of players and a lot of players trying to come up with all innovative ideas. But the next step really to make that in a mass production so that the industry can work with it, that's really slow going. And that's I think the difficulty what you see with Internet of Things. So there's a lot of nice things. What can I do with a temperature sensor, or what can I do with whatever sensor you want? But how are you actually going to deploy it within a company and see what kind of benefits you can get from it? That's still something we're really looking for.
And maybe especially in this logistics sector.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are the main challenges for this sector to encompass the Internet of Things, IoT, in their businesses?
Yeah, I think if you look in this sector, or if you look particularly in the harbor, it's very complex. There's a lot of different parties involved. So that whole ecosystem, as we like to call it nowadays, I wouldn't say it's broken in the harbor, but it's a different way how people are working together. And what you want to do with Internet of Things is making sure that everybody is using same kind of information. So new partnerships, new structures of cooperation all need to be made again to really see how you can get the benefits from that.
And what would you advise those companies?
Work together, but that's really, and open up information. We're also working in Smart Industry, which is an initiative in the Netherlands, and what you see is that a lot of companies are willing to start working together, but are also reluctant in providing their own data. It's my data, I don't want to share that with other ones. And if you really want to make that innovative step, you really have to be open to be able to start working with other parties. Because in this case, I think 1 and 1 is really 3 if you work together. So I think that's my advice to companies is be open to work with partners.
Yeah, and I've heard that, and sometimes people are afraid, and I can understand that as well. So maybe is it maybe a place like this, and those young people are maybe more it's more maybe in their nature to work together.
Yeah, it's really interesting because as IBM we work a lot with startups or scale-ups, a little bit longer. the interesting thing is they have the freedom to do whatever they want almost. When you look at a company, we are structured to the way how we need to work with all the processes. And the startups, they really come with innovative new ideas, using new technologies, using a lot of open source kind of tools. And it's really interesting then to see how you take the establishment with the new and let them work together. And that's why these things like a hackathon really works really well. And as IBM, for instance, we're based in Amsterdam, not in Rotterdam, but we work a lot with B Amsterdam, which is a great startup community. But also here in Rotterdam, we work together with the RDM Makerspace, where we also have a project which we're doing together called RAMLab for a new production method, 3D metal printing. So that's really where you see companies also working together to come up with a new idea together.
What is for you the most fascinating aspect of your job? Because I can imagine there are so many different angles at it.
Yeah, most fascinating, I'm learning every day. And it's really going very fast. And it's really interesting to work with all different parties and trying to understand who does what and how it all fits together. And I like to see myself also as a builder of the ecosystem, which doesn't specifically mean that today I have to do something with all of those parties, but if you can bring them together and really be like the glue in the middle, try to come up with new solutions, I think that's probably one of the most satisfying parts of my job. And then it's really interesting to see what kind of ideas people come up with.
What is the most crazy idea which you have heard in the past times?
There's a couple of crazy ideas. You know, as IBM, we work with Watson, which is basically the artificial intelligence, or as we like to call it, augmented intelligence, and come up with all kind of new ideas. And sometimes you don't think about it. We have a great example with a minivan, an electric minivan, which already is 3D printed. That's I think already very, very nice. It's called Ollie. It's from a company called Local Motors in the US. You can fit in with 8 people and it drives by itself. It's electric, like I said, but we have then provided it with Internet of Things technology and with cognitive capabilities, so you can actually talk to it. So you step into the minivan, you talk to it, and it tells you where to go. And that's really very nice. Another example which I really like is what we did with Kone, the elevator manufacturer. Because they were looking at the elevators where if there was something wrong, always a mechanic had to go there. So we connected all these things and then we used what we call machine learning. And now actually the elevators are talking to each other. That's really nice with the website. So the elevator is saying, I'm going up, I'm going down. And then there's some sort of a host elevator central system, which then say that's okay, or there's something wrong, we need to send a mechanic to you. So people come up with all kind of new ideas which you and I haven't thought about. Which we probably didn't even know was nice to have, but suddenly you see it's like, oh, this is really interesting.
It's fascinating.
And that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing here is that you're actually also working with a lot of startups who are trying to understand what this artificial intelligence really is and then come up with all kind of ideas.
It's fascinating. Have fun at your job, but I think you are having fun with your job.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you for being here. Have fun at the hackathon as well.
Okay, thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a bit with our next guest.